But we're going to need everybody. And Mike always gets on me about saying we. But when I say we, I mean the Hawks. Are going to need contributions from everybody the rest of this series in order to be able to face Chicago or Cleveland in the Eastern Conference Championship. It's going to be, again, it's going to be very interesting. And we shall see when the series resumes Saturday in Washington exactly how things turn out. And out west last night, the Golden State Warriors and the Memphis Grizzlies were in action. Steph Curry actually accepted the MVP trophy again for the second day in a row, but this time in front of the hometown crowd. And man, that was probably the most excitement that Warrior fans got last night. Mike Conley made his return to action yesterday for the Memphis Grizzlies and gave them a spark in their 97-90 win over the Warriors in Game 2. Conley missed the last 3 games with a facial fracture, and he looked a little better last night. I think he just had the little eye thing going on, but he had to wear the mask. But he came out and scored 9 of the Grizzlies' first 14 points, finishing with 22 points on 8 of 12 shooting in just 27 minutes. You also had Zach Randolph giving a good contribution with 20 points and 7 rebounds. And here's the thing. Everything that could go wrong for the Golden State Warriors last night did. You know, from the beginning of the game, they came out so flat and in foul trouble. You had Draymond Green in foul trouble in the first quarter. I think he had 2 fouls in the first quarter. He ended up finishing with 5 personal fouls in the game. And that right there set this team back because they were not able to play the kind of basketball that the Golden State Warriors play. You had Harrison Barnes finishing the game with 11. Draymond only 14. Andrew Bogut, who played really good last night, one of the bright spots for the Warriors, came up big with 12 rebounds, but only 8 points. Steph Curry, noticeably absent, 19 points. Klay Thompson, noticeably absent, 13 points. You had Leandro Barbosa to come off the bench and give you 14. But again, watching this game, and I stayed up just to watch this game because, you know, I wanted to see the Human Mixtape. For those of you first time listening to the show, Human Mixtape, Steph Curry, really wanted to see what he was going to be able to go out there and do against Mike Conley. I wanted to see what kind of energy Mike Conley was going to bring to the game. And he definitely brought a lot of energy to the game. I mean, this was a completely different team compared to just a few days ago. Now that Conley is in the lineup. Now, you talk about a situation where, and we talked about it on the show, where the Memphis Grizzlies are a very scrappy team. Like, this is a team that, you know, you want to bring your A game against the Memphis Grizzlies at all time, or you'll find yourself in a situation like last night. Now, do I think that the Game 3 is going to turn out like Game 2? No, I don't. I don't think so. But you never know. I mean, you know, like I said, it's not too often that Steph Curry's just going to give you 19 and then Klay's going to give you 13. Usually, one of those guys is going to step it up if the other one is having an off night. We didn't get that last night. And I like to think that all started with Draymond Green being in foul trouble early on, because as soon as it happened, I was like, wow. Because the second foul, it didn't even look like he touched the guy. And then the other thing is that they're at home. And getting bad calls at home, that's never good. That is never good. I mean, for the most part, the Golden State Warriors were just absent last night. Mike always talks about, don't force me to watch bad basketball. And last night is exactly what you got. The Golden State Warriors from beyond the arc, 6 of 26. That is 23%. You cannot win a ball game like that. They were 31 of 74 on field goal attempts. That's 41%. But going back to the 3-point percentage, 23%, and you're the Golden State Warriors. Yeah. You can't win like that. There's no way possible that you're going to be able to win against a scrappy team like the Memphis Grizzlies. There's just no way. You allowed them to come out and score 28 in the first quarter. The second quarter, they scored 22. You only scored 17. You can't play like that. And then you were playing from behind from the get-go. Yeah, man. Look, if Golden State, and I have no doubt in my mind that Golden State is going to win this thing, but come on now. You cannot play this kind of basketball. You cannot. And I was reading something this morning about players having bum games after the MVP trophy ceremony. Again, I'm not one of these superstitious dudes. So I really can't go for that. There's no way that I can go for that. But what I can say is that Steph Curry and Klay Thompson cannot combine for 3 of 17 shooting from three-point land again. They cannot do that. There's no way you can do that and think you're going to win the ball game. It's not going to happen. Period. It's not going to happen. And we'll see if Memphis can come out with this same kind of energy, if Mike Conley brings this same kind of energy to Game 3, which is Saturday in Memphis. And I mentioned earlier that last night's win by Memphis was only Golden State's third loss at home on the season. The last home loss was January 29th, if I'm not mistaken. Do I think Golden State is a better team than Memphis? Absolutely. But do I think that if Golden State doesn't bring their A game, Memphis can get them? I do. Not that that's what I'm rooting for, because I really want to see Golden State go all the way. But hey, you got to step it up. You got to step it up coming into Game 3. Whatever was going on, if the crowd was too much, if the whole MVP thing was too much, it should have settled down by Saturday. Now you got to deal with a hostile environment being in Memphis at the Forum. I think that's what it is, the FedEx Forum, if I'm not mistaken. Now you got to deal with that. And I'm sure guys like Steph Curry and Klay Thompson, I'm sure they thrive on that. And so we're going to see, man. I was kind of shocked. I mean, that I stayed. And again, wasn't disappointed because I wanted to see what Mike Conley was going to be able to do, what the Grizzlies were going to be able to do, if they were going to be able to turn things around from Game 1. And they did. So from that standpoint, totally satisfied with what I saw. But from the standpoint of the Warriors, wanting to see the Warriors do more, yeah, man. They kind of disappointed me with that one. But we'll see what happens. As I said, Game 3 is Saturday in Memphis. And this series right here, man, this could shape up to be a long series. I mean, like I keep saying, you don't want to play around with a team like the Memphis Grizzlies. You just do not want to play around with that. You don't. All right, so switching gears, and this second hour is going to be an abbreviated segment. We'll only probably take this thing about 30 minutes because we have some things that just came up. But more fallout from the fight of the century, or what was supposed to be the fight of the century. Manny Pacquiao, Floyd Mayweather Jr. If you hadn't been listening, I was actually on hand in Vegas last week for all of the fight festivities and, what we thought was going to be the fight of the decade, which just turned out to be a money grab for Vegas, a money grab for Floyd, a money grab for Manny. We find out after the fight that Manny was hurt, as Bob Arum classified it during the press conference, or right before the post-fight press conference. He has the Kobe Bryant thing going on with his shoulder, a torn rotator cuff. And again, we find out now, days later that, Manny really was injured. And, for a guy like me that was expecting to see a lot of output from Manny Pacquiao, it all makes sense now. It all makes sense. Dude was hurt, probably hurt himself a little more during the fight. But, again, I look, this is what I'll say. I know that nobody wanted to pull out of this fight. I know Manny didn't want to have to postpone the fight, for months because, again, now we're finding out that after surgery, he's going to be out 9 months to a year. So I know he didn't want to pull out of this fight. He had a lot riding on it, a lot of money. Floyd had a lot of money. MGM had a lot of money. The entire city of Vegas had a lot of money. And, he kind of did some things that, were kind of sketchy, for, or so I think on Manny's part. Or maybe Manny's people told him don't disclose it, or we're not going to disclose it. Maybe Manny wasn't the one that said, hey, I'm hurt. Maybe he would have said it, but his people were like, no, you just keep this hush hush and let us deal with it. But regardless, the bottom line is that now Manny Pacquiao could possibly be facing disciplinary actions for not disclosing his injury on the pre-fight questionnaire. He's also they're also saying that he could be fined some money. And as we talked last show yesterday, that there are several restaurants in Vegas that have filed a class action lawsuit against Manny Pacquiao, for not disclosing the injury, and then for the most part not giving the folks of the fight that they wanted to see. But here's what I'll say on that. And again, this is an abbreviated segment, so an abbreviated hour. So I'll be quick with this. Being in Vegas, there were, a lot of things that were going on in Vegas that weren't necessarily Vegas-esque, if you will. And I'm talking about, it's always expensive in Vegas, but some of the prices, some of the things that were going on in Las Vegas were absolutely ridiculous. I mean, absolutely ridiculous. Rooms that usually cost between, $200 to $300 a night, going for $500-$600 a night. The restaurants, and I'm sure that the restaurants that are suing, because I haven't seen the names of the restaurants that are suing, but I'm sure that there are restaurants that were located within the MGM or the MGM properties. And I think I mentioned this on Monday when I got back, that there were several restaurants. All right, now the MGM and the MGM properties were charging $150 to watch the fight closed circuit. But upon me, and then of course, you had the scalpers that were selling them for over and above and beyond $150. But then you had some restaurants in the MGM that I guess realized, or at some point, that because they were a part of this MGM thing, that they could get the fight in their restaurants, and so they came up with the idea: oh, we're going to show the fights and we're going to charge. Did they charge $150, $200? Absolutely freaking not. I'm walking through the MGM, just checking out the scene. I see the sign outside of one of the restaurants, an Italian restaurant. I can't think of the name of it. But they had a sign outside that said, watch fight with us. We have fight specials or fight packages or something like that. And so I asked the host that was standing outside the restaurant, I asked her, I was like, so y'all showing the fight? So she was like, yeah. So I was like, how much? And she was like, oh, well, it's $1,000 plus tips and gratuity. So it's $1,000 to watch the fight, plus I got to tip you and give you gratuity, but y'all ain't said nothing about food. Nothing. And that was on Friday. So Saturday, hours before the fight, as I'm making my way through the MGM, I stopped by this restaurant again. Because at this point, I'm just interested to see if they've gone up, if they've gone down, like what the deal is. So I'm talking to the manager. He was like, yes, my friend, we can get you in here. We can get you in a party of 3 in here for $5,000. $5,000? I was like, dude, I just came by yesterday and the lady told me that it was $1,000 a head plus tips and gratuity. He was like, yeah, but this is our special. Well, I'm doing the math, sir. And $5,000 for 3 people, tips and gratuity, and you still haven't said anything about food is not a good deal. You're ripping me off. And that's pretty much what happened to everybody that paid for the fight, that went to Vegas for the fight, they got ripped off. Am I mad? No, I'm not mad at Manny. He did what he had to do. A lot of folks might say different, but you want to fight. And I'd be damned if I turned down $120 million. I'm sorry.